Hello everybody and welcome back to the Finny Barbar channel. Today I'm going to be ranking every monster and villain in the Scooby and the Scrappy-Doo Show. Now this is for Season 2, and if you go back to my channel you will see that I've done one for Season 1 already. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. So first up we have the Abominable Snowman, and he actually looks pretty cool. I prefer him over the generic Abominable Snowman that we usually get, but it is a Scooby-Doo show, so we will always have one of these villains. Next, we have the Alaskan Monster, and he's a pretty funny looking monster if I'm going to be honest. It's basically an elephant seal crossed with a saber-toothed tiger in the Scooby-Doo style, and yeah, what can you say that's not great about it? Next, we have Alien, and he's meh. He reminds me of the Impossible Man from the Marvel Comics, just with the big nose and the big head. But yeah, he's alright. Next, we actually do have more than one alien in this show. We have aliens from A Close Encounter with a Strange Kind, and these are mischievous aliens, and they're alright. Once again, they're the same as the other guy, although I do like how they look a little bit different from one another. I do like that a lot. Next, we have the Arabian Magician from Scooby's Dessert Dilemma, and let's be honest, it's not very good. It's just a man, and he does magic. There's nothing crazy about him. Next, we have Big Thug, and he's alright. I love how they actually sort of introduced a mobster into this. I find that very funny, and I think that's very, very cool. It's very interesting that we've done that, of course, with the whole gang system that is censored on television, especially at that time. Next, we have Bigfoot 1 and Bigfoot 2, and they're meh, as the other ones are. They're pretty much the same, just slightly different colored, as you can tell. They're very much similar, with the same chest, the same even hairstyle at the top. And next, we have Bing Bong the Monster from Stuntman Scooby. Now, once again, this is sort of like a Bigfoot monster, but a bit bigger, sort of along like the King Kong route. As you can see, there's Scooby there, and he's much, much bigger than Scooby. I like that, and I think that's very cool that they've added sort of a King Kong-like analog character. Next, we have Bruiser, and I think, once again, this is very cool. He's very cool looking with the suit, and I like how he's called Bruiser, as he's one of the enforcers, and I really like that. Next, we have Bulldog, and he's not really a monster or a villain. Even though he is the villain of the show, technically, he's just a mean dog, if we're going to be honest, and he's pretty dumb. Next, we have the Carnivorous Plants, and once again, that's pretty dumb. They don't really do much, they're just sort of there. Next, we have the Cat Lady, and while this looks like an opposite version of Catwoman, it's not. It's a completely different character. And you can definitely see where they've got their inspiration from Catwoman, specifically the Selena Kyle version. As you can see, there's literally the exact same costume, just in a Scooby-Doo style and white instead of black. Next, we have another cat villain. We have the Caveman from the old cat and mouse game. And he's meh. He reminds me of the classic Scooby villains from the Asia Town episode, and while he looks okay, I guess, it's just sort of alright. Next, we have Caterpillar, and this one right here is actually very interesting. As you can see, this is the caterpillar from Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, and as they do an episode on that, I find that very interesting that we actually get a character ripped directly out of that book, which is very interesting. Next, we have the Catfish Burglar, and I think that they look very cool. One of the better looking burglars in this series, and we have their accomplice, which is pretty boring. They don't really do much, they're only there for a couple minutes and then they get caught. Next, we have the Caveman from Scooby's Fantastic Island, and every Scooby show has to have a caveman. It's sort of the law. And while it's just a generic caveman, doesn't really do much, but he does have a nice design, and I like how he's more caveman-esque than other cavemans we have. Another Lewis Carroll character we have here is the Cheshire Cat, and this is sort of a personal thing for me. I've never really liked the Cheshire Cat, but once again, it is cool to see such a character inside of Scooby-Doo. Next, we have the Chinese Food Factory Burglar from the episode The Chinese Food Factory. And as you can tell, once again, he sort of fits with the Catman sort of way, but they're actually from different episodes. And they do like to use these Asian masks in Scooby-Doo, and I like that. I think they look very cool and they fit with the characters. Next, we have the Flying Monkey, and it's meh, if I'm going to be honest. Once again, that's ripped out of another popular thing, which is Wizard of Oz. And that's very cool to see that they're actually taking stuff from inspiration, and I think that's very cool. Next, we have Gardener, and he's kind of trash. He looks like a orange pumpkin eggplant man, if I'm going to be honest. But I do like how he's got the really big collar. I think that's very funny. Next, we have the Gargoyle, and this is actually the first godly monster we have on the show. And I think, yeah, it's a very cool looking gargoyle monster. You can definitely see the inspiration from classic gargoyle mythology and just generic gargoyles in general, but I do like how they mix it up with the Scooby-Doo style. Next, we have the giant bat, and while you can't really see from that picture, it is actually a giant bat, not just a normal sized bat. And once again, doesn't really do much, it's just there for sort of a shock value and one of the giant creatures. Next, we have Globby, and Globby's kind of funny, but he doesn't really do much once again. He's one of the ghosts, and he doesn't really do much. Moving on, we have the Great Grandpa Scooby, which is really cool. I always like when we actually get Scooby or any of the Scooby Gang's relatives in the show, especially if they're going down a villainous route. And I do think it looks very cool with the hat and the classic Scooby whiskers. Next, we have the Invisible Ghosts from Scooby Goes Ghosts West, and I like this. I like how you actually can't see them, and the only thing you can see is if they pick up something, and I think that's very, very cool. It's a very nice take on the invisible man, invisible ghost stereotype. Next, we have your generic knight, and as you can tell, this is very based off the original Black Knight Scooby, except he doesn't have any of the red detail that the original one has. Not much to say about this one, just your generic knight. But it is good to see a knight in a Scooby-Doo show. Next, we have the lava monster, and yeah, I'll be honest, he looks kind of cool. I like how they've introduced more mythological characters in this series, and I do like how he looks. He looks very cool, and I like the gold and the red color scheme. Next, we have Lion 1, and this one's actually from the Incredible Cat Lady. And once again, it's kind of trash. It's just a lion. They don't really do much, but it's sort of just there to help out the villain of the episode. And the second lion we have in the show is from A Bungle in the Jungle, and once again, it's just sort of around, doesn't really do much to help the characters, apart from just being there as a shock value. Next, we have Madame Olga, and she's alright. She's your typical kind of witch, but I like how they've added more of a Scooby style with the pink and the stars on the hat. Next, we have Medusa, and I'm really glad that we actually have Medusa in this show. I think it's very cool that we're introducing more Greek characters into this show than just generic European myths, and I think that's very cool. I do like that a lot, and I do like how her design has come out in this show. Next, we have Mummy from Mummy's the Word, and it wouldn't be a Scooby-Doo show without a mummy in it. And while this mummy is a very generic looking mummy, I do like how it does have no pupils and you can only just see the white dots of its eyes. I think that's a very cool design. Next, we have Nazarat of the Jungle in A Bungle in the Jungle, and he's pretty boring. He's just sort of a man in the jungle. He's not one of my personal favorites, and I don't really like the episode as a whole. Now, moving on, we have the Octopus Monster, and I think this guy is very funny looking. Another one of the godly monsters of the show, and he's just really odd looking. I like the color scheme they've gone for the octopus, the pink and the violets, and I like how he looks very grumpy. Next, we have Panther, and once again, this is just another one of those animals that we have in the show that goes down to help out the villains. Next, we have Pat O'Wiley, and this is your leprechaun in the show. I like to see there's a little bit of Irish representation in the show, and I like how it's not just, he's got like a little bit of a pink undertone to him, and I like that a lot, and I like how he's smaller than the characters. Next, we have the Phantom of the Sewers, and this guy, I like this guy. This guy's weird. He's got a weird looking face, as you can tell he's been down there for a long time, or at least that's what they were going for when they were making the costume for the villain. Next, we have Pistons McGee, and he's kind of boring. He's just, once again, just a man who's there doing evil deeds just to get and make a quick buck, which is, I guess, a lot of what these guys are doing, but he doesn't really have that cool of a motive, and he's a bit lazy with his costume, if we're going to be honest. Next, we have the Pleasure Island Man, and while his name is extremely odd, I think he's got a very, very cool costume. With the red hat and the red hair, the long nose and the black trench coat, it's definitely unique and a nice colour scheme to mix up with the vibrant colours of this series. Next, we have Queen of Hearts, once again from Alice in Wonderland, and I do like how they've actually introduced the main, if you'd say, villain of the book, the Queen of Hearts. And I like that a lot. I think that's very interesting. Next, we have a really weird villain. We have Rat. Now, this is just your generic rat. The rat you'd find in a sewer anytime, it's just a rat. There's not much to say, but it's just there once again to scare the gang a little bit before the big villain actually arrives. Now we have Rawhide Red, and I like this guy. I like how he's called Rawhide Red when he actually does have a blue face. I think that's very funny, but I do like the contrast between his colours, and it's very interesting. Next, we have the Rickshaw Dragon, and I like this dragon. This dragon's a cool dragon. Another godly monster for this series, and I just think, yeah, it's a very interesting looking dragon. I like the purple and the violet colour scheme. It definitely matches with the octopus monster, even though they don't meet, but I do like the colour scheme. Next, we have the Rock Monster, and what a great looking villain. Okay, he's really funny looking, he's got a smile on his face, and he's all cracked up. I really like this guy. He's very funny. Next, we have Rocco, just another one of the guys, but, you know, he's meh. I do like his little hat and his jacket. I think that's a nice little take. Next, we have Rocky Maximus. Lots of Rocco type characters in this segment here, but Rocky Maximus, I like how he's got the armor over his arm as he's sort of like a gladiator, Spartan type character. Next, we have the Sea Creature, and this guy looks really cool. He's your classic underwater villain for the Scooby-Doo show. He fits in with the Octopus Monster episode, but I do think, yeah, he does look kind of cool. Next, we have Sergeant, and once again, he's just sort of around just to make fun of the gang and be a nuisance. But not much to say, apart from the fact I like that we have a different variety of characters than just straight-out monsters. Next, this one's a bit bizarre, but it is actually Shaggy Werewolf, when Shaggy becomes a werewolf. And while this is, you might think, don't we have a movie like that? We do, but we do also have this episode. While it is funny, he does also act as a villain throughout the episode until he is changed back. Next, we have Slime Boy, and I like Slime Boy. Slime Boy, he looks really cool, and he reminds me of the classic Killer Croc costume with the little shorts and the full green scaly things. Even though he is made of slime, he still reminds me of that. I think that's very interesting. Next, we have Small Sug, and how unfortunate it would be to be named Small Sug. However, I do like his purple suit and white tie. I think that does actually look very nice with his greyish skin tone. Next, we have the Swamp Monster, and this is very cool. He reminds me of the Gator Ghouls from the Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. Even though this came first, you can definitely see the inspiration from Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. I do like that a lot. Next, we have the Swamp Witch, and once again, another witch in the show. More of a generic witch, but, you know, I do like the pink hat as that sort of mixes it up from other witches. Next, we have Sylvester from A Fit Night Out for Bats, and he's your vampire, and he's alright. Not a lot going on for him, but he does fit the vampire role. I do like how he does have pointy ears and the pointy hair. I think that is a nice little touch. Next, we have the Wax Master, and once again, he's meh. But although he does remind me of Dr. Psycho from the DC Comics for his head size and the fact that he looks like him, and while maybe there might have been some inspiration there from both parties, but I think he does look kind of cool with the big collar. And finally, we have the Wicked Witch, and this is just your generic witch. This is, I'd say in my opinion, the worst witch. She doesn't have a lot going on for her, but, you know, every Scooby show has to have a couple witches. And that's it for the ranking of the Scooby and Scrappy-Doo Show Season 2. So let me know down below what you thought of this ranking, and let me know what your ranking is. Can't wait to see you guys soon. Bye. Thanks for watching.